All right, welcome back to Dennis' Sustainable Kitchen. Thank you for joining. So some of you asked more about the induction stove. I know there's been a few people that are considering it. Querían saber what have been some of the challenges, what have been some of the learnings, and how do I know if my cookware works? If you are going to switch to a induction stove, you definitely want to know what you're getting yourself into. Now, there's a couple things. See, if you have an electric stove to begin with, which is the radiant heat, this will be a lot easier to compare. Pero if you are, say, for example, have a gas stove, there is a little bit more to take into consideration. Y la cosa with sustainability is we have to look beyond just the numbers. No. Recently, I wrote an article and I put it on LinkedIn that what goes beyond the numbers, right? So I know some of us just look at how much money am I going to save? Am I really going to save it? Am I going to get my money back? And short answer, yes. Now, breaking it down a little bit more, how can we do that? Well, hopefully I can shine some light on that today. You know, there's definitely a lot to take into consideration with this. But the first thing is, let's just say, si tienes a radiant stove, okay? So the first thing would be if it's a 3-prong, 4-prong plug, those will be the easiest things to look at. Most modern stoves, they have the 4-prong, and that can be easily switched out by, if you have an electrician, check that out. It's a pretty simple swap. The next thing is going to be, what are you trying to get out of it? Porque la cosa is with the radiant stoves is, one, they're slower. You know, they gastan más luz. And one thing is that depending on the type of day, the day where you cook, might be where you spend the most money. So if we stick just with the electric, con la electricidad, you know, at least here in California, you have different time periods of when you can have different rates. No puede ser the off-peak hours, mid-peak hours, or peak hours. Y la mayoría de la gente, of course, if you work, you're going to go home and make dinner, and that's usually peak hours. So, for example, here son de las 4 p.m. hasta las 9, so 16 hasta la hora 21. And that's, first off, where you can save the most money. No, if you reduce your cooking times in let's just say between the two time periods, you can save just about 40% with no changes. With induction, vas a gastar aún menos. You're going to spend less kilowatts per time that you use it. So welcome in. ¿Cómo están? How we doing? Talking all things induction, stove, and cooking. Feel free to say hello, and if you got any questions regarding induction stove and all of that, by all means, drop them in the comments. I'd love to get the conversation going. Bienvenidos. Tienen una pregunta sobre cocinas de inducción, por favor, no tengan pena. Déjenme sus preguntas, saludos, y again, welcome in. And so my first learnings have been that cooking overall, los tiempos, roughly about 35% faster. Así que si quieres cocinar con menos tiempo, that's a big one, right? A big thing for me is, for example, I don't have a microwave, and that's by choice. Microondas, I got rid of it. You know, I don't like how the food comes out. So, you know, those are some of those things that I take in consideration, especially, you know, with what I like about food. So I like to make sure I know what my food is, what it tastes like, have more control over it. Todo lo que cocino, todo lo que hago, it's microwave free. So my kitchen is a microwave, and meaning that, you know, the stove is the primary cooking element in my house. So, you know, let's just say si quieres tu cup of noodles, right? You know, I think with the old stove, put to boil a test between a liter or un kilo de agua, and then the same thing with the induction stove, and it's turned out to be 8 minutes versus 4 minutes, so I cut it in half, you know, and that's with the liter. You know, imagine less than a liter, it gets a lot faster. And so, you know, anything that has liquid is going to cook definitely a lot faster. Quick things are like con aceite, if you're oil, you need to be a little bit more vigilant because if you're not used to the response times, se te calienta el sartén very fast and your oil can explode. So those are some of the quick nuances. Quick things also is the temperature. You know, once you turn off the stove, it's pretty cool to the touch. Show residual heat. Of course, it does cocinando por long periods of time. It'll be a little bit warm, but within a minute and a half, poner la mano allí and you're not going to get burnt. So benefits of that is if you have kids, tienes hijos, it's a lot safer for them not to get burned. Same thing if like stuff spatters out of your pans, stuff doesn't just burn up on the stove. And that's something to consider even between gas and electric, radiant. So, but yeah, there's a lot more. Happy to go into it, but I think what I wanted to show you guys real quick is how to find out if your cookware que tienes ahorita present day work, you know, because if you are going to switch to a stove that's induction and you have a lot of pans and no sirven, no funcionan on induction, something to consider. So I think the first thing there is making sure that that works. And so the first thing I wanted to make sure that I covered, it's the big question for a lot of people, but it's in la comunidad latina, it's a big important one, and es el comal, right? Si el comal no funciona, I think the kitchen is closed. So I have a cast iron one. Tienen de aluminio. If you have an aluminum comal, it's not going to work. Si tienes un comal de barro, it's not going to work. It's de acero, so it needs to be stainless steel or iron, cast iron. But you need a magnet. So if the magnet gets stuck, like this one, that's what you need to find out. So yes, comal does work. So that was one of the most important pieces to find out. All right, so I have a bunch of all-clad stainless steel pots and pans, right? And the thing is that to begin with, I think in 2012. So one of the things with sustainability is that to make your stuff last. So you invest in it, you know, to last you a longer period of time. And so the thing with these is that when I bought these, I had a gas stove. And so if you have a gas stove, you see that it starts to burn the bottom of your pans, especialmente if as the soot gets there, se tapan los quemadores. You get that like yellow flame and that smoke, and then you smoke the heck out of your pan, right? Kind of like this one. And this stuff, of course, never comes off over time. And so that's one of the things to compare the two. The other part is that what you want to check is making sure that your pan lies flat, que no estén warped. And so with a gas stove, this is what happened. And doing what I believe I was deglazing con un poco de wine, and the wine was cold, to deglaze the pan, and it actually warped it. So, you know, so now it doesn't sit flat. And dependiendo how it is, how warped it is, it may or may not work. In this case, I've tested this one and it still works, but you know, as it's full, you kind of have to keep an eye on it to make sure it you know, it's connecting to the magnet. So how does that actually work is the question, right? So how does the stove work? So for starters, there is a big magnet in here. And the way I look at it, explaining it, is think of how you have wireless charging. And so in order to have a wireless, you know, if you have a wireless charger, you have that magnetic thing on your phone, it needs to hit the magnet, right? So like say you have one of these things that, you know, if you put your phone on, it'll stick, right? So same thing here is you need a magnet, right? So if you have a magnet and it works, this means that your induction will work, right? So essentially what's happening here is that the magnet is magnetizing itself with the metal, just like you would with your wireless phone. So if it's not flat, there's a good chance it's not going to work. If you're wondering what these are induction magnets. And so you put them on here and the current goes through them. La razón is because this thing is very, very delicate. That is one of the downsides. So it could easily scratch. If you slam the pans on it, it will break. If you scratch it deep where like your nail gets stuck on it, you can't buff that thing out. No. So what I love about it is it's easy to clean, right? So you can use this, and then with these, if you pick up the pan, you got a hot pan, then you can just put it, let's just set it over here, right on your ground countertop or whatever, and you're good to go. Okay. So I tried it. When I did the water test, I did it with and without the mat, and there was no difference in timing. So there, you don't lose any, efficiency or conduction connection for. So yeah, so first things first is, like I said, is the magnet is that it works and it should be flat, right? So this one, for example, is completely flat. It doesn't shake, right? And so these are, and here's another with the little metal, the gas burner that I had. But these things have lasted me for over a decade and they're still amazing. And you can see, they're scratched and everything, but there's no burn marks in here. So that's, something to. Okay, so there's that piece. Again, you need a magnet. So there's, your magnet. So if you have a good magnet, like this one, right? Then you go. Okay, so that is first test. So if all your pans, then you're good to go. Si vas a la tienda, you go to the store, you don't know, or you're looking to pick some up, just take a magnet. Take your little magnet, and yeah. Here's number one. So yes, cast iron does work. This one I bought when I bought the stove, and it works too. Tried a different brand, so a more eco-friendly brand, and happy to talk more about it on another day. Yes, it works. So that's questions number one. Number two that I always get about induction stove. So how fast is it? Well, that's what I wanted to show you guys. And the other one is sometimes you hear these weird noises coming from it. So is it broken? It's a good chance it's not because it's heating up. So when you do pass a corriente through a magnet through a metal, you are creating heat, and that is what's happening in here. So think of it when you use your phone a lot and you're charging it, se calienta, right? Same thing here. So again, we're gonna start with this one. Like I said, it shakes. So we're starting with cold water, and just to make sure you guys know it's cold. And so, then we're going to, all right, well, right now it's 120. Let's put it that way. So we're doing this at full blast, still 120, and you start to see the little coils, right? That is actually the magnets. Tienes one of those radiant heat. That's the coil, pero está there. Let's see how this thing's not all there. So then you take it off, it stops. Put it back on. Heading plug. You're good to go. So, and then, I don't know, you can see the little light here. This tells you that this is on, but it's flashing right now that there's nothing on it. It's telling you it's shut off because it wasn't hitting any pan or anything. So it's kind of an automatic shut off, which is nice too, because, if you forget to turn off the stove, it shuts off for you. A radiant heat stove, that's not going to happen. It's just going to continue to burn. So again, with this one, right, we'll just do this one for laughs and giggles, but same thing, cold water, and just keep it same. There's no heat, right? We just took off that pan. So again, we'll do, right, it's 122. See how long it takes, but you're going to start to see the current. You already can see a little bit of the water molecules essentially going through, and then you start to see and it's less than a minute, and then take it off, it stops. All right, so there is a ring, it's a magnet. You guys can see that in the middle there's nothing because that's where the center of the magnet is. But the beauty of these is that they have all this freedom and take it off. So then the other part that I really like about it, and this took some adjusting, is the response time. So right now I cut it by half, cranked it. Here's full blast, right? There we go. Now 30%. Take it back up to 90%. Takes a minute to power itself back up. But there you go. And say, something's burning on it because you left it too high, then right away take it off. And same thing, right? Nothing falls here, it'll burn. So if you put water on it, right? So that's what I like about it. So again, those are some of the safety aspects of it. And then of course you can clean, so if you drip stuff on here. So those are some of the learnings. Another thing is getting used to how the response time. And by that, I mean also when you do with oil, right? So if you use oil that doesn't have a high smoke point, you're going to burn the heck out of it really fast. And so we'll use this pan, but essentially, right, what's interesting is that, so let me do two things. So we'll leave this one, imagine this is still somewhat wet, right? We'll dry out the pan, but just to give you an idea, if this was oil, right, you just put oil on there and you let it go, the oil is going to start to right away get really hot, right? So then it'll explode. Give that a shot. So again, there's no heat. You can put your hands. Same thing here. This is actually really cold. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to light it, put some oil into it, but to cool it down and make sure oil doesn't explode, I'll put in like some tomatoes or something that I'm going to be searing. So I'll just toss in some of these right here to cool it down once it's really hot. But again, what I like about it is the factor of heat. So I actually am also recording right now with my Osmo, and I have a tripod that's plastic, right? So I already know that the plastic is not going to melt. Okay. So, in this case, there's two, right? So I like the Grasa olive oil. I know it's not sponsored. Just give you guys an idea. When it's just refined olive oil, the smoke point is a little bit better than extra virgin. I go about 350 on it. But if you're going to fry really high or try to deep fry in something, you want over 400, and that's what this one is for. So for this case particularly, I'm going to use the high heat because I'm going to crank it to give you an idea how fast it heats up the oil, and otherwise I'll burn the heck out of that. So put in, what is that? Tablespoon? No, not even a tablespoon. Teaspoon of oil. 29. You probably can hear the magnetic field. And right now I have the hood off, so hopefully you guys can hear this really well. You can already start to hear the heat. It's already getting 360, 385, 400. You can start to see the smoke, I think, hopefully, because I can definitely smell the oil. Right, and so bring it down. You know that with thing of feel that if the pad is hot, it won't stick. Right? And that's one of the beauties of it, is that, for those that use gas, that tends to be the big one. So that this one with the response time will have a lot of your stuff to just don't stick. So if you wanted to fry an egg on here, you can do so. I've done it. So that's, again, some of the beauties of it. Take this off. You got your pan, you can put it over in the corner, and there's no heat. It's warm, but there's you know. Now, if you had again, if you have a pot that's been on here for a half hour or something, it is going to be a little bit warmer, but it's going to cool down within like a minute. And if you have those radiant heat ones, you know, they stay on for a while. And so all of that heat gets into your house, right? It makes your house hotter. If it's in the summer and you have your AC, because you're going to crank up, your AC is going to pick up that, is going to pick up your heat. So you're, you know, putting some more strain on your AC if you work, you know, live in a place that's really hot. And essentially it's cold, right? And you got your counter space back if you need to do something else. So, you know, again, it's a lot more efficient in terms of getting hotter. You know, if you want to, like for searing food, it's nice to have nice, consistent heat. If you have a cast iron, it works. And just like any cast iron, once it gets really hot, it stays really hot. So this case, this is where sometimes they say don't crank it up all the way because it will get extremely hot. And if you throw in some liquid on it, it may crack. So you want to be careful with that one, but it does work. It works really well. And that is the one that's a little bit tricky when it comes to turning it down, right? Because it takes some practice so you know how much to turn down the power, and then so the cast iron will actually cool down. So for those that work in the kitchen and have worked on a French top, that would be the equivalent of it. You know, when you turn down, you adjust the heat on the French top. It takes a little bit to respond. Once it responds, it takes a while to cool down. So same thing here, but it still is more efficient than just regular radiant heat. So welcome in. How is everybody? All right. So hopefully that shines some light on some of these things. I know I've gotten a few questions on that, and I want to continue to, you know, provide some of these things. Para los que are considering switching over, the way I've done my calculations on this right now, I should get my return within, you know, the other part is the more you use it, especially if you use it during the more expensive times of the day, which tend to be when most people cook, which is at dinner time, you're going to see a bigger return a lot faster. For me, I've switched a lot of my cooking habits. So I don't cook much for the evening, lighter in the evening, cook heavier in the day. So just that switch alone cut my bill by roughly about 40% in terms of cost. And now with an induction stove, I'm cutting the actual consumption of the kilowatt by 47% is what I came out with. So, and that's over the last 90 days of downloading the data. And this is specifically within the peak hours just for dinner. And I was able to isolate some of the use of electricity based on the other electronics and stuff that we have. I feel pretty confident with the analysis on that. And so, about 47% in terms of energy savings. And then depending on time of day and where you use it, that can translate into your money. But yeah, hopefully that gave you guys some context in terms of an induction stove, kind of the quick tips or quick input. Welcome in. ¿Cómo están? And if anyone has any questions, by all means, drop them in the chat or leave them in the comments. English, Spanish, Spanglish, it's all the same to me. Happy to provide any insight, or if there's something else you'd like to know about when it comes to induction cooking, I'm happy to try to make some content on that or on a next live or something. So in terms of the actual stove review, I haven't gathered everything. I was going to do that and try to make a review and just post it on my YouTube channel, which is same handle at Dennis Sustainable Kitchen, where I can put the longer version of it, go a little bit more in depth. Yeah, I hope you guys learned something. Welcome in. ¿Cómo están? And thanks for joining in, tuning in. And if you guys have any questions, preguntas, comments, comentarios, by all means. Otherwise, happy cooking y cuídense. Thank you for joining.